Hello everyone, good afternoon. I'd like to thank you for joining us on today's webinar, Transform and Grow Your Business Using Systems and Tech, sponsored by SimPro Software. My name is Jillian Bateman, ESA's Director of Marketing, and I will be facilitating our webinar today. Before we get started, I would like to take care of a few housekeeping items. Please note that all callers will be muted for the duration of this webinar. At any time, feel free to ask a question by clicking onto the question section of your control panel. We will reserve some time at the end of our session to address as many questions as possible. Throughout this webinar, we will be sporadically live polling to gauge your feedback in key areas. Simply click your answer in the pop-up window and results will be tallied in live time. A recording of this webinar will be available in the resource library on esaweb.org at the end of the day. Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our speakers today. Kim Gill is Director of Marketing for SimPro US, bringing 20 years of experience in marketing and association management to the position. Kim is responsible for developing their U.S. marketing and communication activities in line with corporate strategy, designing and implementing lead generation campaigns, managing and coordinating events, and initiating and maintaining association partnerships at the local, state, and national levels. Brad Cooper joins us as CEO of SimPro. Based in the company's office in Boulder, Colorado, Brad leads the SimPro's business and its strategy through his executive team. Brad's current focus is on launching SimPro into the U.S. market and growing the business profitably in all markets. Kim, Brad, I will now turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Gillian. And hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Gillian mentioned, Brad Cooper is my name. I'm the CEO of the SimPro Group. We are a software specialist that works across the contracting industry. So our clients range in the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, solar, and fire protection, and electronic security arenas. And we specialize in that throughout most of the world. We have offices in Australia, where we're originally based from. We have offices in the United Kingdom, in New Zealand, and as just pointed out, recently set up here in Boulder. A bit of a background in electronic security myself. I actually worked in the supplier/wholesaler arena for high-end CCTV systems quite a few years ago. So I have an intimate knowledge of how your businesses operate and the challenges that you face. Yeah, so really I think we can just get started and into it. Really what we want to talk about today is ways that you can help grow your business and take advantage of technology and maybe a different mindset as well to help you launch into growth mode. Just a few of the topics we're going to talk about, just challenges in your business. We're going to talk about revenue versus profitability. That's always a good topic to broach. Business owners versus being self-employed. That's something that people really need to understand in helping them grow their business. How to systemize the business to succeed and potentially to exit the business one day if that's something you're looking to do, and how do you pull it all together. Really, if you look about it from a thematic point, we want to talk about how your business can be set up for growth and how you can use systems to achieve that growth. So first up, everyone has challenges in their business, no matter how good the business is and how well they're running. So we just wanted to do a really quick poll here just to get a few thoughts around what are the core challenges that you're having in your business. So we'll pop up a poll now, and if take a second and think through what those challenges are that are being displayed, that would be great, and Kim will talk us through that.
Yes, hi, I'm Kim Gill. I'm going to be working on the poll. So if you could just take a minute and respond, what are the different challenges you face in your day-to-day operations? And we've got a few listed here. You could select those, and then also if you have others that you don't see, you could type them in the chat bar as well. Jillian, why don't we give it another 30 seconds and then close it out. Okay, that should be good. We can the responses. So the two main ones that come up are cash flow at 25% and resource management at 25%. Excuse me, visibility across the company is actually the highest at 31%. And still some challenges in inventory management and transparency of profitability.
Okay, that's great. Thanks everyone for contributing to that. Yeah, we can touch on a few of those elements as we go through the rest of the discussion. So I guess from a high level perspective, it's important for all of us. Technology's everywhere. Just look at a slice of the industry that you're in. We've gone from having the only option of securing something being security guards to being extremely high tech within 60 years. So it was just 1951 that the first videotape recorder, costing over $50,000 was built, allowed you to capture images and retrieve them for later use. And for those of you that have been around a while, like me, you probably remember what they look like. We've had a big change from that. So nowadays there's millions of security cameras in the US. There's petabytes of security video stored locally. It's stored in the cloud. Thousands and thousands of people have access to view the cameras on their phones, to also access cameras, DVRs, access control panels, alarm panels for remote diagnosis. So all of this is enabled through technology. So for you to be relevant to your customer and to stay competitive, you obviously have had to embrace that technology shift to stay up to date. But what we like to talk about is, what about your business itself? Are you keeping up to date with technology and how you manage your business? And I think that's the big question to go from. A lot of us invest time and energy in ensuring we do the right thing to keep up competitively with our products, but sometimes let the business arena lapse. So pretty much everyone lives in the cloud. I'm sure that regardless of what you do in your business, you're using some sort of cloud technology, and a lot of that's going to be to access cameras. It's going to be programming alarm panels. It's going to be programming NVRs and accessing a whole bunch of stored documents and security information. But are you using that same productivity to be managing your work? So without adopting leading-edge cloud business software to help you run your business, you're really missing out on some of the benefits, making your business more efficient and reducing the cash flow cycle from billing to collecting. And it's interesting that cash flow is one of the top items because it quite often is. Using technology allows you to do things such as have a job completed out in the field by one of your technicians, have it invoiced immediately, and even take payment on the spot with credit card if you're doing sort of small business. If you're doing some bigger work, then obviously at least invoicing it immediately means that it's in the hands of the customer straight away. And as we all know, something that's happened immediately is a top of mind, and people tend to pay those bills a little bit faster. Interesting little summary here. It's a little bit hard to see maybe, but it's something from a Deloitte SME study that showed typically after 5 years, only 36.4% of construction-based service companies survive. So you're losing pretty much 2/3 of the businesses in the course of 5 years. So it's really a sobering thought. But just like you need to keep up with the technology that you sell a new service to your competitors, to keep you competitive with your competitors, you need to be able to keep up with how you run your business. And if you contrast this sort of stat here, which shows after 5 years we've lost 2/3 of typical people inside of Simpro, and so our software for contractors, we find that based on the attrition rate of companies, most of them are surviving 20 years. So that's actually because they're running their business effectively. If you look at the cause of most failures, it's lack of job costing. So we talked about visibility, and that ended up being #1 on your pick of the polls. Visibility is massive. Where are your people? Where's your money going? I think job costing is really underrated by a lot of people, but it's the make or break in most businesses, I believe. If you do lots of work, then you need to make sure that all those jobs you're into your net bottom line. Without that, you're actually going backwards. Cash flow is always a big one, and obviously people go out of business because the cash doesn't keep up with the expenditure, or they're growing so fast that they actually are over-investing, and that's always another risk as well. So doing little things like having the ability to take cash or payments in the field is really important. The other things are lack of systems, the owner of the business becoming a bottleneck. How many times are you the one that slows your business down from moving ahead because people have to come through you to find out information? And the no visibility part is really important in the sense that people can't really make decisions if they're not getting access to real-time data. And if you can present that to them in a great format, then you've got that capability of helping decisions happen faster, which will then bring the cash forward. Out of that, yeah, there's always winners and losers in business, no matter what people say. Yeah, there's always winners, always losers. But my belief is the winners invest in systems and processes and technology to stay relevant, and the losers don't, and they gradually fall behind their competitors until the point they become irrelevant. So yeah, don't let yourself become irrelevant. Here's a nice little statement. I like to talk about this one. Yeah, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. So winners in business typically understand that revenue is not the same as profit. You can grow revenue like crazy and you can still go broke, because along the way you need to really understand where you are making money, and you need to know if you're making money on your jobs or if you're not making money on jobs. It's easy to go and win a whole bunch of more business, but if you're not making a little bit of profit on every one of those jobs, you're actually losing money, and you're going to go out the door backwards a hell of a lot faster. Classic example, we've got a client who had 15 technicians, electrical contractor, and he was struggling to make money from that business, and what he ended up doing is firing a couple of his clients. And yeah, he did some reporting out about our product and found that there was a particular group of clients he thought were producing a lot of income for the business. And they were on a revenue basis, but they were losing money more often than they were not. So we actually got rid of those clients, reduced his technicians from 15 down to 6, and actually ended up making a lot more money. So it's around about understanding what's going on and how to manage your business and how to make good business decisions. So one of the philosophical I just wanted to touch on was, are you a business owner or are you a self-employed technician? That's an important thing to understand. There's a great book many of you may have already read or seen, come across. It's called The E-Myth. If you haven't, I suggest you go out and buy it. It's a fantastic book. It talks about businesses and how they start typically from a technician. Now, if you think about your own story, you've probably come from a background where you worked for another business or you're an apprentice and you got to the point where you thought you could do a better job than your boss and you went off and started your own business. Or you might have inherited it from a family member and just perpetuated the way they do business. So the challenge is moving from being that technician through to being a business owner. So many people who are owning a business think they are business owners when they're really trapped in it and a self-employed technician. A real business owner is one that can run the business without actually needing to be there. So I'll give you 2 really quick examples that I've had in recent times. There's an electrician with 6 staff and there's a plumber with 15 staff. Now, that's field technicians, not including office staff. So if you look at that, you'd imagine that plumbing business with 15 staff is a real business. Well, believe it or not, I was chatting to this plumber up in New Jersey at a conference, and he told me he was just rebuilding his business, and that got me curious, and I said, what does that actually mean? He said, oh, well, I got really sick a few years ago, so I fired all my staff, shut down my business, and sold all my equipment. And now I'm better again, and I'm building it all over again. And I just couldn't comprehend that you would ever do that. The amount of time it takes to build a business with that many people, that many clients, the trucks, etc., just to lose it all because he was sick. And that just shows to me that he wasn't a business owner. He could not run that business, or the business couldn't run without him driving everything. Look at that electrician I spoke about with the 6 staff. He actually was someone I met in Las Vegas. He was an Australian guy. He'd just spent 11 months driving around the US and Canada in a Winnebago with his wife and his 3 kids. And his business was still running by itself back in Australia. All he'd do is he'd jump on with his iPad once a day, just check his invoicing, check the schedules were good, making sure that the purchasing was done correctly and that everything was pushing across into the accounting package at the end of the day and the cash was coming in. It was about an hour's worth of work a day he was putting in. So you contrast those 2, which one do you want to be? And I think it's pretty self-evident. You want to be the one that actually can run the business without having to be there. So which brings back into the E-Myth, just about understanding what hat you're wearing in the business. So the E-Myth talks about 3 roles that you take within a business. One is the technician, one is the manager, and one is the entrepreneur. So the technician is the one that does all the hard work. They're actually out there on the tools. The entrepreneur is the one that probably created the whole concept about, I'm going to go start my own business. So that was the mode that you were in that time. You thought, let's go off and build a business. And the manager is the one who orchestrates everything and makes sure that people are on time, that the bills are paid, all those sorts of things. So we've got a little bit of a poll here, just to see what you think you spend most of your time doing in your day-to-day operation. Kim?
Jillian, if you could pull the poll up. In which area do you spend the most of your time? Entrepreneur, manager, or technician? If you can just take a minute and respond. Okay, we'll give it another 15 seconds, and then Jillian, if you want to close the poll after that. All right, well, this is very telling. It looks that we have 68% that say that they spend the most time in the manager role, 26% spend the most time as a technician, and only 5% are entrepreneurs.
Okay. Comment. The next slide, I think. Yeah. So that I'll show you is what happens in the typical businesses that we're dealing with. And you guys are interesting. So you're actually more skewed to the manager side than the technician. So more often than not, the people we are talking with have a high skew to the technician side, actually still working on the tools. Small amount manager, and then an even smaller percentage entrepreneur. And it probably comes absolutely no surprise to you at all, but the ideal balance is to spend equal time across all three of those arenas where you actually can really help drive your business growth. Being an entrepreneur, you can actually put the systems in place as the manager, and you can get out there and probably do the thing you really enjoy, which is being the technical expert. So from the E-Myth again, what you need to do as a business owner is to get involved in and understand what this cycle of innovation, measuring and execution looks like. So to succeed in a business, you need to have the innovation part, which is what the entrepreneur does. That's putting ideas into practice, that's creating energy, that's getting out there and looking at ways to improve what you do and what your business does, and how do you deliver a better service to your client. The business owner's got to have that entrepreneurial drive. Simpro helps to helps business owners with that arena with a thing we call The Journey, which is part of our website, and it's where we follow other business owners that are doing really cool things. It's the ones that have never had a holiday for 7 years and all of a sudden have taken off and gone fishing and spent more time with the family. So we have these videos and stories that help you motivate yourself to manage the business, to change the business. Then there's the quantification piece. And innovation without quantification doesn't lead anywhere. If you can't measure the change that you're putting in, then how do you know if it's any good? You need to be able to build a database of things and track what you're doing well. You need to understand things like your labor productivity. If you've got a technician that's only producing 25 to 30 hours of billable time in a week, then how do you improve that? How do you measure it, and how do you manage it so that it actually increases up to 35 hours? There's a great saying that a business mentor of mine taught me many years ago, and that was that what you measure, you manage, and what you manage improves. And this is really one of those things there. When you can measure what's going on, then you can actually talk about it and make improvements. And the final step in that link is the orchestration, and that's that's similar to optimizing. So in the orchestration, you're actually getting everyone to work towards a standard set of processes. You're using technology to actually help people understand what they should be doing in their job and how to be the most productive that they can be. It's part of building a system that helps you become almost like a franchise mindset. So and within Simpro as well, it gives you the opportunity to do that by giving you all the tools and reports that you need to quantify and then to schedule and control. So systemizing. So this is where we talk about all the systems that you need to put in place, from these are manual processes through to technology pieces, and they're really the important part that allows you to control a business. Really, it's only with a repeatable system that you're going to achieve any real level of growth and success. You have to replace yourself with a system. You have to work on doing that. If you can't replace yourself with systems, then you're always going to be struggling, because you're always going to be that bottleneck. If every time someone needs to talk to you about a common scenario in the business to get a solution, you are a bottleneck and you're slowing down the business. You need to have those systems that allow people to do that. A great example, we've got an electrical contracting company of Simpro, using Simpro. They built systems in place where they ended up hiring school mums. So once they dropped the kids off at school, they'd come in and work for 5 or 6 hours and then go and pick the kids up afterwards. And they actually could do all the invoicing, they could do all the scheduling, they could actually do the purchase ordering, they could actually push data across into the accounting package, all because they built standardized systems that anyone could just jump in and do. And that freed them up. The couple that owned that business went off to start a guitar school, they built a hydroponics farm, they've even started a video production company. and an electrical wholesaling company, all because their core business ran by itself. So that's systemization. So at Simpro, we created a software solution to help contractors like you build a systemized business. And it delivers what we call the 3 pros of Simpro. So you can see there, we've got processes, productivity, and profitability. And they all feed in a sequential order. So by having standardized processes that you run in your business, and Simpro builds standard processes that work across the contracting industry, processes produce productivity. So by having these things standardized and simple to follow, the productivity of the business improves. And the very simple fact of improved productivity increases profitability. So it's really a nice little cycle that feeds around and around and around. If you keep that in mind, that's going to help you grow your business no matter what you do. Build processes to increase productivity. Productivity leads to profitability. So the key, I believe, is to develop these processes and systems like you're building a franchise. You need to put in systems to standardize and run without you. And if you look at some of those names there on the screen, you know the names, you know the businesses. You probably look at McDonald's. How does that have any relationship to me and my business? Well, if you think about it, if McDonald's can have a 15-year-old kid go in that's never worked before and can go off and make Big Macs that are pretty consistent with the Big Macs and the rest of the world, then that's because of the systemization and the standards and the processes they put in place. And if you can build that out yourself, then like that electrical contractor I talked about, you can hire people in that actually can run the business for you without you needing to control everything. So you need to pretty much start with the end in mind. And the key for me is when you're thinking about your business, what's it going to look like in 5 years? Start with that end in mind. What's success look like? So for most people, an office that they have, their operations has lots of paperwork. There's paper piles on every desk in every corner. You look at your technicians' trucks and they've got their job books there and filled everywhere. There's usually a check floating around in the bottom of the truck. All these things create a lot of problems in your business. And this is where the automation, systemization processes comes in. So if you've got people duplicating tasks or doing double entry, for example, your technician filling something in on paper, bringing it in, providing it to one of the people in the office, then type it into the system for a job card, then someone else has to type it into an invoice, and then someone else has to type it into the accountant's product, you're creating massive overhead in your utilization of your staff. And you're actually implementing a lot of failure points where someone could get it wrong. Instead of it being $1,200 for the item, someone puts a typo in and it becomes $120. How does that impact your cash flow? So having good systems in place means all that can be a thing of the past because a single data entry point flows through the entire system. And going back right to the very beginning where you talked about visibility being one of the key things, imagine every time a technician puts anything into their mobile device that actually tells you what parts they've used, what labor they've used, what action they've taken, and you can see that regardless of where you are. You can log into a computer anywhere or a tablet anywhere in the world and actually see that information pretty much in real time. That is giving you control and helping you make better and smarter decisions. It's not unusual for trade businesses to have processes of some sort, but quite often they're done in a particular way and they haven't been able to transfer that into good standardized electronic systems. So using modern technology though, you can actually easily optimize the workflow processes between the office admin functions and the techs in the field to really deliver you a repeatable, transparent and paperless system. And those screens we have shown up there are different workflows that Simpro has, or different options to have workflow, from tablets, from GPS devices, tracking vehicles, through to office devices and technicians out in the field. So speaking of processes, if you want to take control of your operations, you need to have these processes that these are standardized, documented ways of doing things that anyone can come in and fill in that role for. So do you have any processes? Something you need to have a think about. And if you do have processes, are they well documented? Are they defined? Do people know where they are? How do you train people on them? And do you ever actually audit them to make sure people are doing the right thing? So I'm going to just quickly click on this and open up something for you to have a look at. This is actually a live view into our own internal processes, procedures and policies site. So we built this using some technology, and it's really simple technology. It's called Google Sites. if you're a Google house and you use Google Mail and Calendar, etc., this is all included in your $5 a month per person. You can build out these kind of sites. So we have a whole range of processes, policies, and procedures that we document. So I just thought I'd go into a department one. There's a really simple one here as an example. This is our projects team. Now this is a process map on what happens when someone wants to customize some of our software. So this is just, I know it'll be probably a little bit hard to see, but this is literally a standard process that anyone in our company can pull up and then work out how it all flows and who they should talk to. These swim lanes denote who's responsible, so client or our sales team or our project managers, and then these are the flows that it needs to go through. So these are the kind of things I'm talking about as a standard process that, if you build a business using the technology available, you can have that ability to move towards that franchise operation. And just really quickly, I'll just have a look at this is another one. From our technology perspective, this is the back end of that, so the custom development workflow. So that first process I showed you was someone who needs to do some customization, and this workflow is how it actually gets built. So this is the flow that actually works across the whole business when we need to build out a workflow, build out a custom solution for our clients, right the way through to the end result. So I just show you that purely on the basis of how important it is to make sure you get those process documents done. And again, using technology, Google Sites, really simple, and the workflows themselves were done through a product called Lucidcharts, and that's a really simple thing that anyone can just drag and drop and create their own workflows and process documents. So the workflows, here's where we just wanted to probably touch on the workflow that you have within your business. So there's typically, we find in contracting business, there's 3 types of core workflows. There's obviously the service work, so that's the reactive maintenance work. There's project work where you're actually going out and doing an installation, and then there's the actual active maintenance, which is the maintenance where you have a contractor come out and test the alarm panels or clean the cameras, those sorts of things. So I thought I'd have a really quick poll here on the different types of workflows.
So Jillian, if you can pull up that poll. And if you on the call can just take a quick moment to tell us which workflows do you have? Service only, service and project, project only, project and maintenance, or service, project, and maintenance workflows? Jillian, if you want to give that another 10 or 15 seconds and then close that out. Okay, so the majority on the call are actually doing all 3. We have 70% saying service, project, and maintenance work, 20% saying service and project, and then just 5% saying service only or project and maintenance. There's no project only.
Okay, yeah, great, and that's the right mix in my opinion. The good repeatable workflow comes in maintenance and service, and your nice big chunky cash comes in your projects. So when you think about those different types of workflows, they all have a different style of being completed. And one of the things that's really important when you're looking at a technology piece for your business is the software going to support the different ways that these jobs are managed? So it's very different managing a project than it is managing a service job. I'm sure you know that. You might have 3 guys on site for a project doing installation, pulling cables, terminating, putting in cameras, etc. They might be there for a week. Whereas your service work, it's a quick call out. You might have a service technician doing 5, 6, 8 jobs in a day, depending on the type of work that you do. So each of them needs to have a workflow that they follow. And this one I thought I'd just bring up and just show you really quickly a standard Simpro service workflow. I don't expect you to read all of that in such a short space of time. But what's important is having these documented. And part of what we do at Simpro is we have standardized workflows that work for service, for projects, for maintenance, for asset testing, etc., that we can actually just provide. And our whole software is built to flow through a job from start to finish. So that's from the first inquiry from a customer right the way through to invoicing and reporting of that job. So we have a whole range of these kind of standardized workflows, and they're there for you to adopt. And the great thing is once you adopt them, you can then adapt them. And Simpro is flexible enough to allow you to put your own changes to these workflows and do it the way that you want to do it. So that's really an important part of any sort of technology solution in my mind, is to make sure it's got the workflow that fits your business. Yeah, there's a lot of products out there that are service focused only, and for those guys out there of you that are just doing service, then they might be a good fit. For those of you doing service and projects, or projects and maintenance, then yeah, a product like Simpro that actually has multiple workflows is something that you really need to consider to resolve all the different elements of your business. Otherwise, you have one part automated and another part still working on a manual process. Oops, too many buttons. The other thing about systemizing that is really good, and again, this was one of the things that was mentioned right at the beginning poll about resource management, is when you systemize, you can actually really help optimize your staffing. So number one is you can maximize productivity. So that resource planning, if you've got a really good scheduled system, you actually understand where everyone is at any point in time. You can actually see the fluctuations in the expected time of a job through to the actual time. So there's nothing like comparing what your expectation is to the actual and then get a feel for, was that an individual technician that's always running overtime? Or is it just every time we think it's going to take an hour to do this type of service job, it ends up taking an hour and a half, and therefore, if we're doing it as a flat rate, we're costing ourselves money. So it's allowing you to maximize all those elements of awareness, visibility, and productivity. But believe it or not, it also really improves retention. And these days, staffing's tough. There's a shortage in the workforce. It's hard to get the right people and keep the right people. And having good systems that helps the technician do their job better and easier, they're going to stay. And we've seen many cases where we've had technicians from one of our clients leave, gone to someone else who doesn't have the systemization, and they've either forced the company to bring systems in, or they've actually gone back to their original boss and said, hey boss, I really hated working for those other guys. They were so far behind the curve, it was not funny. So it can really help with that. The other part about systemization is exiting your business. The little quote there, this was a phone call that came into the office here in Boulder a couple of months ago. We had a customer ring up, now a customer I should say, a company ring up and say, my accountant told me to call you because I want to sell my business and he told me it's worth nothing. And at the end of the day, what this accountant told his customer is that the business wasn't worth anything because it was all in his head. He had a decent company, it was like 12 technicians, 5, 6 people in the office, but it was not worth anything because as soon as he walked away, it wasn't worth anything. So what we talk to them about is, if you want to sell your business, you need to build up a standard system, and that system needs to have a few years of history in it to prove to anyone that comes along that, hey, this thing's actually worth some money. These customers we have produce real income for my business. My technicians have been here for X number of years. Here's my productivity reports that I can produce and show you that anyone taking this over or wanting to merge this business is going to get some value. So that's something for you just to consider over long term, what you really want to do with your business. And going back again to that you brought about visibility, you need data to make the decisions around what goes on in your business. So if you had the right systems and you had the right information, what kind of decisions are you going to make differently? Are you going to have information that allows you to decide that a particular customer that you thought was great is actually not so great because you lose money on them? Have you found that your favorite technician is actually the least productive guy in the business? And you have to have that hard conversation. These are all the things that can help you understand what goes on in your business. You can have whole bunches of reports that actually tell you every time that you do work for a particular sector, the productivity is really high and the profitability is really high for those jobs. So maybe you start focusing more and more on a particular sector. Maybe it's government contractors, maybe it's supermarkets, who knows what that is. It's all the information that you can put in and collect out of your system. But without the systems, you can't collect and interpret the data that you need. And that's probably the biggest thing that I give you to take away from here. And some of those questions that data gives you is exactly those things I talked about. Are my team members profitable? Did I get overcharged on my parts? Within a good system like Simpro, you have the ability to view what you've been charged for items compared to what the actual advertised price is. You can actually get refunds. You need that visibility about all the jobs that you've got going, when are they due, are you overdue, are you over budget, a lot of information that can actually help you manage better and, at the end of the day, deliver a little bit better customer service. And customer service is one of those big things. We want our customers to succeed, and that's from a Simpro perspective. And I'm sure that those of you here, you want your customers to succeed as well. You don't want to put rubbish systems into their business or their home. You want to put in good things that make them safe and make them feel good, make them want to continue working with you. So you need to understand how to focus on customer success, and that comes through, again, data-driven information and insights. If you've got assets that you're recording, so just call it an NVR or a camera or an access control panel, if you know how often it's been serviced and it's been broken in the last couple of years, you might be able to turn around to your customer and go, you know what, if this thing breaks again, by the time we fix it, it's going to have been cheaper for you to buy a new panel. These are the kind of conversations that you can lead with your customers and help them make better information. And all that comes from service, delivery, and consistency. So getting close to the end here, one thing to think about is, what does success look like for you? Is it having more time off? Is it saving for your retirement? Is it selling the business for heaps of money? Is it building out a franchise? Have a think about that, and that's an important thing for you to really be aware of. Because at the end of the day, whatever that is, it probably fits into one of the three categories that that we call growth, wealth, and freedom. And pretty much anyone who's got a business is looking for one of those three things, and sometimes they flow. Initially you want growth because you actually want to create some more wealth, and then the wealth leads you to have some freedom, to take vacations, to do like that customer of ours who spent 11 months driving around in his Winnebago. Whatever it is that awaits you, you need to embrace that. You need to adopt the business owner mindset, and you need to adopt the technology that's going to support you in running your business as a business owner. Don't be like these guys. Don't confuse being busy with being productive. Take action now, because otherwise you might be joining me on this webinar next year, having the same conversations, thinking the same things. It's really easy to get caught up in the busyness of life and business and not focus on what's more important. So that'll be my real biggest takeaway, is no matter what you do, whether it's you work with us or talk to us or any other products out there that are going to help you improve your productivity, you need to start now, otherwise you're going to get left behind. And we talked about earlier the competitive landscape. Your competitors are doing this. Your competitors are buying our products and other products like ours to make their business better. So something that you need to have a good think about. So gone through all that, what are the next steps? So right now you're probably thinking, well, that sounds good. I'd like to do it. I know what my challenges are in my business. I understand that there's technology out there that's going to help me meet those challenges and actually resolve them and grow my business. But because you're time poor, you're looking at this and going, I'm too busy, it's too hard. That's the chicken and the egg scenario, right? Which comes first? So we thought we'd just share 3 simple little steps for you, just to give you a few things you can do right now. So number 1 is, after this session, we're going to send you an email, and it's going to have a mini workbook in it, and it's going to just be around about understanding the difference between being a business owner and a self-employed technician. And it's all about, for this little mantra that we have at Simpro called have a business and a life, because that's really what you need. You need a balance. You need to be able to live your life as well as grow your business and have success. So we're going to send you that. Have a good read through that. I think you're going to love it. Just takes 15, 20 minutes to work through. So invest that time in yourself and your business, and I think you'll be really happy you did. Second is to watch some of the videos that we have on the Journey site. I mentioned that, and these are the success stories and people that are really great advocates for having a business and a life, and they might give you a few little thoughts on what you need to do to have a focus and grow. So have a good look at that. And thirdly and last, talk to us. We are very happy to talk through our experiences. We're very happy to show you what our product looks like and how it works. We're happy just to discuss why it's important to get these systems in place and what they can look like when they're finished. At the end of the day, there's no obligation to do anything. We're just happy to help spread the word about growing businesses and taking control of what you do in your life. And hopefully we can help you do some of that. brings us to the end. So I hope you enjoyed the webinar and the discussion going through there. I hope it's given you a better understanding of the importance of systems and how technology can actually help you resolve the challenges you have in your business. So if you've got any questions, I think we can open that up.
Jillian, do you see any questions in the chat box, or do you want to give a real brief explanation of how anyone can ask the question if they need to?
Yeah, so again, if you have any questions, you can type them into the control panel there. I do have a question. We've talked a lot about reporting today. How can the software help security companies collaborate and communicate better internally?
So internally, you meaning with their own staff members?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's a great question. So there's a whole range of reporting that's available in most softwares like ours. We've got a standard, I think it's 142 reports, which cover everything from profitability, productivity, labor rates, through to job costings, work in progress reports, cost to complete reports, all those sorts of things. So what can happen is it's quite easy for some of these reports to be automated and automatically emailed out during the day. So there's a process where there might be a type of report that the business owner wants everyone to see first thing Monday morning. They can actually create that, and that report will get sent out to everyone. So first thing Monday morning, everyone's having a look at this same report with the same information and can then start having a discussion around the value in that. It also leads from the field, so the technicians out on the road doing service work or doing project installations, they have then the ability to be updating all sorts of information immediately into the system that the people back in the office can have a look at. So you might be the project manager who's overseeing a few different projects, and you can go in and actually see basically in real time the information that the technicians out on the field are reporting that they've installed, or the challenges they faced, or maybe even a change request that the clients put through, and that can all be processed and handled and seen in real time by everyone that needs to have access to it.
Great. I have another question here. How do the folks on the webinar...
Jillian, are there any other questions?
Yep. So we just got another question. How do the folks on the webinar get pricing for their specific needs from here?
Pricing for our products, if that's what you're referring to, there's a couple of ways. We have some of our standard pricing on our website, which is simprogroup.com, so you can have a look in there. Or the information that we'll be sending out today will have a link to the website, it'll have our phone number. You can just call us and we can have a talk through and explain how it works, how we set it up. We're pretty much a SaaS software, so it's month to month. We don't have any lock-in contracts. I think we're pretty unique in that way in our space. Most people try to lock you in for 1, 2, 3 year contracts. We believe that if you don't think we're the right product for you after you've been using it, you should be free to go. We don't want to hold anyone back in growing their business. So we've always been a month-to-month business as well.
Another question here, can the software help them, and how easy is it to track inventory with it?
Yeah, great question. So yes, we have full inventory management. That revolves around a whole different range of setting up the system. So when we do the implementation piece with you, we actually go through and work out how do you want to control inventory. Some people just have everything as a generic single warehouse, so everything gets lumped into that. A lot of people go, no, I want to control it down to the technician level, because each one of my technicians has a truck. We actually then can set each of those trucks up as a warehouse. You can do a whole range of really cool things around that as well. So you can set minimum stock levels or inventory levels for that truck. So when he's used X number of RJ45 connectors and you're down to 3, it can fire off and say to someone in the office, hey, we need to order these, and it will actually self-create a purchase order as well that you can just send straight off to your supplier. So that can be done on an individual warehouse basis. We do all the ability to have inventory counts and costings, so you can actually do cost analysis on what you're carrying this month versus last month. So quite an in-depth inventory capability, and that's something that a lot of people really love, because there's a lot of money often tied up in that inventory, and if you can control that better, then that's more cash in your bank.
Great. Another question here, does the software have a dispatch function for service?
Yes, it certainly does. So we have, there's a mobile application called Connect that is part of what we do, and so in the scheduling component of the software, you can then choose to dispatch the job directly to an individual technician, and that can be based on a whole bunch of rules as well. So we have a concept called zones. So let's just say you're based in New Jersey and you've got a couple of technicians that work in Manhattan and a couple that head down to Philly. You can actually break up how those zones are applied, and then when a job comes in, then it can first of all check the zones, and then it will also check the skill sets that might be required to do that work against the technician you have. So there's a whole bunch of capabilities in setting that up to ensure that you're dispatching at the right time. We also have the ability to understand where each one of the technicians is, either through the mobile device or through where their last known location was, or in real time through vehicle GPS tracking. And therefore you can actually then see who's the closest person to a site if you've got an emergency job as well.
I think those are all the questions we have today. I would love to thank our presenters today for the presentation, and I would also like to remind you that